4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
Oh, 7 Commanders, and welcome back to the channel. A little deviation from my planned next Elite Dangerous video, which is still going to be coming, don't worry, but I really want to get this one out there. So today I want to discuss something that never really crossed my mind until someone commented on my Rest in Peace Elite Dangerous video. And it's a very simple question to ask. Should Elite Dangerous go free to play? And in addition, what it can learn from No Man's Sky in 2022, if they do it this year. Now this is not a video designed to bash Elite Dangerous or Frontier Developments. I want to focus on the truths of the situation that we and they find themselves in, and look at other games in the past that have prospered from going free to play when in a position where they may have otherwise had to shut the game down. First up, let's address the free to play model, a model that in itself is not that difficult a concept. You make a game completely free to play and then monetize it to all heck.
Show me the money.
With potential advertising, currency for money, in-game shop, etc, etc. And you know what? It works. It really does. I mean, I don't like it, but it works. Is it my sort of thing? Not really. I mean, I've played free-to-play games. I was and still am a lifetime subscriber to Lord of the Rings Online, despite having not played it in about 10 years. And I've also played Elder Scrolls Online, and I enjoyed both of those games. Now, in fact, if my memory serves correctly, Lord of the Rings was one of the first games to go from a paid model to a pure free-to-play model. And it went from a dying game in 2010 to a free-to-play model, and 12 years later, that game is still going, and from what I understand, still has a strong and passionate player base. In fact, that company took Dungeons & Dragons Online and made it free-to-play before they had Lord of the Rings, and increased its player base and revenue by 3 times. Now, Lord of the Rings Online only doubled their player base, and it also doubled its revenue. So that's not really all that bad, is it? So the precedence has been set. These games alone prove that you can take a, air quotes, dying game and breathe new life into it by doing free-to-play properly. But it has to be done properly. Now, don't worry, No Man's Sky does come into this in a bit. Now, Elite Dangerous is already operating at a semi-free-to-play model anyway, which is kind of disgusting, in that there's already currency for real-life money, there is already a cash shop, in which Odyssey skins are already operating at an overpriced free-to-play model price tag, and they already give players as little as they can get away with, which is also something I'll address later on in the video. Now, having said all that, could Elite Dangerous go free-to-play? And if so, what would that look like? Well, I for one think this would be a tremendous move for both Frontier Developments and the game in general. Lots of people are just not willing to lay out the money on the game as they either know that consoles are done in the eyes of FDev, or they've heard that the game is just really difficult, or, which is actually more likely, they've heard that Odyssey sucks. But I tell you, as most of us know, when you get in and get going, Horizons gets you hooked. And when you get players hooked, what do? They open their wallets. Just look at my bank from my time in World of Warcraft. Let me tell you, I was a WoW addict. And I am thousands into that game. When you look at my sub fees alone, over the, 15, 16, 17 years it's been going? Never mind faction transfers, server transfers, and mounts, etc. I mean, I've not played in a while because, again, the game sucks. And I've not used those services in years either, even when I was playing. But I did spend on them in the past when I was younger. This move should be a no-brainer for Frontier Developments. Going free to play would mean that they get more players into Odyssey, more eyes on the game, and more importantly, more people to monetize. I'm now talking in their language. Money. Money, 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 money. They could release more skins for ships, player outfits, guns, etc., and charge either arc points for them at a higher price than they are now. They could maybe rework arc points completely and do something completely different with them and then just charge real life money for things in the store. And not to mention, take a page out of Star Citizen's book and charge for ships. existing, and more importantly, new ships. Ooh, shiny new ships. Now, from a business perspective, this makes perfect sense to me. I am a businessman and I'm looking at this from their perspective. It makes perfect sense. Player count has dropped by a metric fuck ton. We peaked at 27,568 Steam players just before Odyssey launched. Now, we only have Steam numbers to work with here, so there is room for errors in the numbers, but they will be small. But it does give us an idea. Now we are at 7,618 in the last 30 days, which is up, as there was a big sale on Steam and Odyssey was reduced to £13 and Horizons was down to only £5. But that is a 72% drop in players. Let me say that again. A 72% drop in the player base. Imagine dropping that many players just because you dropped the ball and released something that the players did not want. That number is worse than I expected. I'm not going to lie. I'm genuinely shocked by that. I mean, sure, this is a peak right when the expansion dropped. It's the highest player base that any expansion is going to get. And it's a peak for most expansions unless that expansion happens to be really, really good. Looking at Final Fantasy XIV and Shadowbringers. And a drop-off is inevitable. But that 72% happened in 60 days. 60 days! The first month was 31%. The second month was 41%. That's crazy numbers to drop. And I have been able to verify these numbers with Down to Earth Astronomy as well, who's seen a drop in roughly 60% of commanders visiting his site, the Commander's Toolbox, link in the description. So a special thank you to D2 for that. I really do appreciate it, mate. So from a business perspective, the argument is there. Elite Dangerous is their biggest IP. Even now, in its dilapidated state, it's still their second highest rating game from a player number perspective. So let's look at the numbers, shall we? So we have Lemnis Gate with 24 players peak. Not saying anything to the 24 players who are playing that. All credit to you. I hope you enjoy it. Jurassic World Evolution, 1,223. Jurassic World Evolution 2, 4,500. Planet Zoo, 12,342. Now this is likely caused by the big Steam sale as well, as it was all the Frontier stuff that was on sale, as it was only at 5,758 the month before. But admittedly that month was low. It is actually still their highest played game currently, but it's still below where Elite Dangerous was. And I do say was. And Elite Dangerous, as I've said, 7,618. So, while I slate FDev for not caring about Elite Dangerous and Elite Dangerous players, when you look at these numbers, I have to think now they have to care. If only for self-interest, they now have to care, whether they wanted to or not. These are big numbers that they've dropped. I say way bigger than I anticipated. So the argument is there for them to go free to play now. But what do we as players get out of this more importantly, other than monetize to all hell and back? Well, as a start, we would get an influx of new players, because you know that would make the gaming dirt sheets. So player numbers would go up for sure. Would they get back that 72% that they lost? Actually, yes, I think they would. With the amount of console players that would actually pick it up purely because it's free, look at how well it did when it was on Epic, a launcher that people hate, and loads of people still downloaded it and played it. I firmly believe that more people will try the game out, even if just to see if Odyssey is as bad as people say. And I can guarantee, and I'm sure you can guarantee as well, that some of them will actually love the game and stick around. If the game went free to play, this would encourage Frontier Developments to give us new ships, as now they can directly benefit financially from it. And I'm sure that people would pay for ships if they came to the store first and then went into the game later on for purchasing game, aka what Star Citizen does. So we would have a good chance of more ships. And if they're ever going to make money from them, then they would need to put effort into the design of them and make them as cool as possible. Now, I always say I disagree with Star Citizen ship pricing, but I never, ever deny how stunning their ships are to look at. The level of detail they put in is incredible. And lastly, more content. It's a known fact by now that Frontier Developments have been giving Elite Dangerous as little as they can possibly get away with while keeping the players engaged, not even engaged, just while keeping its players. It's all very well saying that there's a lack of new content, and I do agree with that sentiment completely. And yes, Odyssey should have been that content, but it wasn't, and I'm not going to labour on that. Going free to play means that they have to give more if they want to get more money. By adding frequent content to the game, you keep players engaged. And if players engaged, you know that a portion of them will spend money. And let's face it, some spend big money. It's just a fact. Now here's the part where No Man's Sky comes into it. I keep hearing that Hello Games did what Odyssey should do, and that's try and turn it around. And I agree. What they did over there is nothing short of incredible. And I'm sure it will never ever be repeated again in gaming. But there are lessons to be learnt here. Hello Games consistently added to and fixed their broken game. And they did it all for free. And now it's up there with Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous in many eyes. In actual fact, it's above them. When you look at Google Trends, it's incredible. The numbers don't lie. No Man's Sky on Google Trends trends significantly higher than both games combined. And this isn't throwing shade, it's just a fact. They have done that good a job that honestly, I think they could easily move to paid expansions now. Now whether they will, I don't know. But I believe that they could easily move to paid expansions now, and no one would complain. Well, virtually no one. I mean, this is the internet, let's face it.
Oh no, he didn't.
But seriously, a paid expansion now for them makes sense. They put in the work, they have the loyalty, they have the respect they now deserve. Admittedly, they lost the respect when they launched that game in the state that they did, but they seem to have clawed that respect back. It just makes sense. They're a business. They have to start making money and try and make as much as they possibly can to put back into the game. But I firmly believe that something they do soon will have a price tag attached to it. And I honestly think it will be received well if it's up to the current standards that they've been putting out. Now sure, No Man's Sky doesn't have a cash shop, or currency for real life money, or anything like that. And honestly, that makes me respect the heck out of them for that. Sadly, Frontier Developments are not Hello Games, but they can still learn from them. So in my eyes, this is how Frontier Developments truly saves Elite Dangerous, and what it can learn from No Man's Sky if it puts it in 2022, in time to save this game. Put in the work and get rewarded, FDev. Go free to play, work at the game. You get the financial benefit, and we, the players, get a company who will be forced to develop it to the best of their abilities, if for nothing more than their own best interests. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, feel free to drop a like on the video, feel free to drop a subscribe if you want as well, but drop me a comment below and let me know what you think. How do you think Elite Dangerous would look in a free-to-play model? Do you think they can learn from No Man's Sky and Hello Games? Let me know in the comments. So there we have it, folks. I've been Just Dave, reminding you all to stay elite and stay dangerous.